Losing a loved one affects everyone differently. In my experience and from what I've observed, there are two styles to grieving: action-oriented and paralyzation. Both are pretty self-explanatory. So people who are action-oriented keep doing things at all times to distract themselves from reality. In a way, it's a form of avoidance, but to them, I think it just feels better to accomplish things instead of wallowing and not checking off all the items on the to-do list that are required after someone passes away. Those who become paralyzed by grief are the exact opposite. They stew in their feelings and they find doing most things challenging, especially if they pertain to the loved one that they lost. The emotions that they feel can be all-consuming and it can actually make them physically lethargic. Now, both of these are valid reactions to loss. One is not better than the other. I personally am an action-oriented individual, and so I am inherently biased because that is just how my mind works. In general, I'm a hyper-productive person who thrives off of completing things. There's simply no way I could ever be paralyzed by hardship, at least not for an extended period of time. And I imagine those who are the opposite of me feel the same way about us action-oriented folks. Checking off a to-do list after a tragedy has just occurred likely feels offensive to them, like it's disrespectful of what has happened. Herein lies the problem. The two styles being polar opposites of each other can lead to conflict because how the other is behaving can be misinterpreted as offensive. Examples of this occurring happen on January 24th through 27th in my book, Losing Linda May, A Cancer Caregiving Memoir, which happened to be the days immediately following the passing of my mom. My dad, my sister, my mom's best friend, and I were all action-oriented, whereas my brother and my sister-in-law were experiencing paralyzation. My group immediately leapt into action and started sorting through my mom's belongings. We were taking apart photo albums to get pictures for her memorial slideshow, and we were determining who would get certain items. This rubbed the other group the wrong way. They thought it was far too premature. They would have preferred that the house remain completely untouched. They couldn't even go back in the primary bedroom where my mom had passed away, which is where we had been spending most of our time. And of course, they thought it was too soon to be giving away any of my mom's belongings. This period of time should have been characterized by togetherness and empathy, but instead our grieving styles pushed us apart. It made it feel very tribal, like us versus them. And it didn't help that the mediator of our family, my mom, wasn't around anymore to facilitate an understanding on both sides. I got where they were coming from psychologically. They were trying to prevent more change from occurring because enough change had happened already. But because all of us action-oriented people lived out of town, with the exception of my dad, obviously, we knew we had a limited window to get a lot done. And we also knew that my brother and sister-in-law wouldn't be able to do certain things given what I've already established, so we felt it was imperative to be productive. They were prioritizing honoring our mom, who is no longer with us, and we were prioritizing helping our dad, who was and who lived in a massive house that had so much stuff tucked away in drawers and closets because my mom was the epitome of a tidy hoarder. But even this justification just demonstrates how biased I am because of my grieving style. 10 years later, I am still compelled to defend our actions by leaning on logic over emotion. As I said earlier in the video, both styles are valid reactions to trauma. However, all actions, or the lack thereof, have consequences. What we didn't know in January 2016 is that my dad would sell the house by September, and even though my sister and I made several trips home to sort through all the items, we didn't finish what we started before my dad took over, and he is a purger, the worst kind of action-oriented person. He does not have the patience to carefully go item by item to determine if it has sentimental value for someone in the family. As a result, VHS tapes with home movies ended up in a landfill, and art pieces and decor that my siblings and I would have kept ended up being sold in an estate sale. Had my brother and sister-in-law been more involved in this process, this likely wouldn't have happened. Though I'm not blaming them. This is completely my dad's fault. But we all knew his personality and how he cleans things. So if we would have worked more collaboratively, we could have mitigated this fallout. At the end of the day, both sides are necessary. If everyone were action-oriented, no one would be processing the emotions associated with their grief. And if everyone were paralyzed, nothing would get done. My advice to both is just remember that everyone copes in the way that makes sense to them, and their actions or inaction is not likely intended to be disrespectful. And when in doubt, always over-communicate your feelings and perspectives because that will help to prevent conflict from happening during an already difficult time. In the next video I'll be releasing on January 28th, I'll be talking about why I chose to end my book, Losing Linda May, when I did. So hit subscribe, leave any questions in the comments. The link to the book is in the description, and I will see you all on the 28th.